It's Tuesday, April 7th, and today we are going to go through some book recommendations that I have for you guys. And for each book recommendation, I'm going to just give some highlights that I like from the book and to give you a little taste of what it contains. So I have a couple things pulled up on my computer, so you may see me looking over there, but these are in no particular order, and they are just ones that I recommend. So let's get started. The first set of books that I recommend is really anything by Brené Brown. The one I recommend to start with is The Gifts of Imperfection. But all of her books, Daring Greatly, all of them are extremely well written and have very powerful ideas in them, and really ideas that for me, changed the course of my life and how I saw the world. And one of the things that she says in all of her books, but the one that stuck with me, is the difference between shame and guilt. And how she describes that is shame is I am bad, and guilt is I did something bad. And I never knew that there was kind of that distinguishing characteristic. And it really helps you understand the people around you too. If more people suffer from, shame, they're more likely to take feedback to their core as about who they are, versus other people who take it as something they did are more likely to kind of fight with guilt in their day-to-day life. So I just thought that was very helpful. I highly recommend anything by Brené. The second book that I highly recommend is by Stephen King, and it's called On Writing, a memoir of a craft. And I love this book because I like to write, but I think it's good for anyone who enjoys doing creative things. And a fun tidbit from his book that you may hear me say, that I say all the time, is, quote, kill your darlings, even when it breaks your egocentric little scribbler's heart, kill your darlings. And I love that because it doesn't matter if I'm writing an email to the client or if I'm prioritizing, feedback on a specific product, or I'm writing stuff for myself. You have to be able at some point after you get everything down to go back, revisit it, and kill your darlings, right? Some things that you really love may not be right in that piece. They may not be on theme. So that power of the pen is a great skill to develop. The third book I would like to highlight is one called The War of Art. And this book is by a gentleman named, give me one second here, I have it. The War of Art is by Steven Pressfield. And the idea is that everybody is creative. Everybody is creating something in the world, but there's this force that keeps us all from actually doing it, right? So he calls this force resistance, and he talks about how, well, we want to do all these creative things. Every day that you get up to actually do it, it's hard to do it, right? And you feel this force against you. Where does it come from? Why is it there? And he dives into that. And he says, a quote from his book is, it's not the writing part that's hard. What's hard is sitting down to write. And that really resonates with me, because you think that it's the writing that's the problem or the blank page, but it really isn't. And he thinks it comes down to this idea of resistance. And that book spawned my own quote. This is a TC original, but it keeps me trucking through on my creative endeavors. And it's do not resist unless it's resistance, then resist that. That also pulls in some Eckhart Tolle ideas about not resisting the present moment. So it's really a twofer, bonus one for you there. The fourth book that I recommend is one that you guys have seen me recommend earlier. It's called Napkin Notes, on the Art of Living. And I love it because he has hand drawings, which I think are hilarious and helpful. It's very similar to my favorite book by Kurt Vonnegut, actually, which is Breakfast of Champions. I love when people doodle in their books. I love when they have little drawings or emojis. It just really engages me. So the Napkin Notes book covers a lot of different complex issues in a very simple way, but basically that you're responsible for your experience here on this earth, and everything that you see is through your lens, and you are the only one to impact things. So you have to take responsibility for that. So I really like his message. It is probably my number one favorite book of all time. The next book, number 5, that I recommend is one called Success Habits by Napoleon Hill. And this is a book that Dan currently has my copy. And Napoleon Hill was around a very long time ago. Don't ask Cameron about him. Cameron listened to the message, not the messenger, right? But he wrote a very famous book called Think and Grow Rich. I read that book. It was okay. I liked it. But I really, really liked his Success Habits series because it's old school podcasts. He's doing a radio show in Missouri. And so they're bite-sized chunks of advice and his perspective. He's definitely has his idiosyncrasies as a human being, but it's very interesting to just get his perspective, and all the tidbits are very easy to digest. And he has, one of the things I like that he said is the path of least resistance makes all rivers and some men crooked. And he talks about building good habits to make sure that you not only can get to your goals, but that you enjoy them from a substantive position. The other quote I'll share with you that I like is, if you attain fame and fortune and do not attain gratitude along with it, the chances that you will not enjoy, the chances are that you will not enjoy that fame or that fortune. And I think that's a very powerful message. What does your journey look like to get where you're going? Where do you want to go? And really, why is that the place that you want to go? The next book that I recommend, this is a throwback to a few years ago when I was taking a trip and my planes got diverted because of weather, and I was going to visit Summerbee in Santa Rosa Beach, and my flights got all messed around, and I ended up taking like 7 flights in 2 days. It was crazy. But anyways, in the airport, I picked up this book called The One Thing. And this book, what I love about this book is, first of all, I gave it to everybody if you guys were around at this time. And it really helps you focus on how to take everything that's going on in life and get it to be productive for whatever you want to accomplish. And one of the quotes that he has that I love is, activity is often unrelated to productivity. Busyness rarely takes care of business. And I love that because everyone's so busy, right? I'm so busy hopping to thing from thing. But what are you producing? What are you delivering to the world? What are you making better just from hopping to thing? It's a very kind of deep concept. Another quote that I love that he has is, things don't matter equally. Success is found in doing what matters most. So if you find yourself banging your head against something thinking, I do all this stuff and it's so great, why don't I get enough accolades for it, right? It may be because you're not really focusing on the things that matter most. And that is hard. And it goes back to kind of that Stephen King idea of killing your darlings. But knowing that this is one place to look is helpful. So another book, one that I'm reading right now, is Ray Dalio Principles. I have it over here. And the quote, hold on.